Hi, I'm Alan Lurie, author of 5 Minutes on Mondays, and I'm sitting here with my friend and mentor and boss, David Arena. And it was David's inspiration to lead off our staff meetings with a little 5-minute inspirational speech that led to the book. So I'd like to ask David a few questions that relate to spirituality and faith in the workplace. Hey, David.
Hey, I appreciate being with you today. It's always an honor.
Oh, it's always fun. So, people talk a lot about faith and spirituality in the workplace these days, and it's a new trend. When you and I started in the workplace, there was no such thing. If you talked about faith or spirit in the workplace, it was somewhat of an oxymoron. That was separated from your work. You did it on church, you did it at synagogue, but you worked when you were in the office. How do you see that changing today?
Well, I think in my own experience, you can't be in shul on Friday or Saturday. You can't be in church on Sunday and pretend to understand what's going on and to participate in what's going on and really believe the message, and then leave that church or that synagogue and not really practice that which you heard, because most of what you hear is just words until you put it into action. And so if you spend 70% of your time at work during a week and you're not acting according to your faith principles or according to those things which you hold most sacred, then I think you're having either a hollow experience or an experience that's about something other than who you are at the deepest core.
Right.
And so I think you have to have faith or spirituality in the workplace because it's part of who we are.
So that if you go to church or you meditate or you have a spiritual practice and it doesn't transform you in a way that translates to work, which is an environment in which those principles are put most to the test, somehow that's, as you say, it's a shallow practice. It's not a deep transformative practice.
Sure.
Well, how would you define spirituality? It's a word we hear a lot. It's bandied about in many different ways, and different people have different ideas when they hear it. What does it mean to you?
Well, I'm not a theologian. I'm just a real estate guy. You're a theologian. But I would say it this way, that in my world, spirituality is the recognition of the spirit in myself and in others, and in that those spirits are the same, and they are connected universally to some bigger spirit, right? Because in most religious traditions, you hear man is created in God's image, so that as we are having a conversation, I get a glimpse of the divine if I really listen and recognize your spirit, right? And if I'm open to it, I think your spirit naturally opens up. Right. We call it connecting, communicating. You know, you talk about even when you're on a sales a pitch or on a presentation, people talk about connecting, right? At the end of the day, though, it's really me honoring my spirit, honoring your spirit, connecting in a way that's deeper than just a superficial way. And then I think people on the other side of the table have a different experience of themselves. People who are not really actively seeking a spiritual experience in the workplace, but who are having this conversation, they feel differently about themselves. They may not be able to articulate why they just felt that way, or why they had the connection. My thesis is the connection is really spiritual. It's not just physical.
Right. So from that perspective, spirituality is really, it's the experience of a connection with another person,
I like
experience of a connection of a commonality, experience of a connection to the divine, however that you define that. But if something more than our physicality and a transactional use-take relationship with other people. So what you said is beautiful, because in that way, spirituality really enhances work. We connect better to our clients. They appreciate that. They see that we're going deeper than just their surface needs. We're engaging them as a fellow human being at a very deep level. And that's transformative in the workplace. And it's good for business, let's be honest.
It's very good for business.
It's the right thing to do and in many, many ways.
Correct.
Have you had experiences like that in the? I mean, have you come across a very powerful spiritual experience at work, and can you share it with us?
I don't know that I've had any powerful or any more powerful experiences at work from a spiritual point of view than I have every day, that I might be having in this moment. Right? Because from my sense, and I said it before, it's when I'm speaking to you, I see the face of God, right? And if I can stay in that frame of mind all day, then one, we'll be communicating on a much different level. I'll be seeking to help you attain or achieve your highest aspirations, and you will for me. And that connection will cause us in business to create something greater than we ever would have created alone, or we would have created without that spiritual connection. So the most powerful spiritual connections to me come not only one-on-one, but with team.
Right.
And when one can create sort of the alchemy, the context for the spirit man to emerge, and then for that to act powerfully together, to lash 50, 60, 100 people with a singular purpose, I think that's a powerful experience.
So from that perspective, spirituality is a collective experience. There's almost an oxymoron to have an individual spiritual existence. That when one is spiritual, one naturally brings other people in, and that connection of people operating from that same commonality creates a powerful force that is a multiplier beyond the number of people.
There's no question. How about the book that your book, right? In the first incarnation, if you remember how that was wrapped and sent to our clients, right? You remember what it said on the front?
Sure. Deeds, not words.
Deeds, not words. Acta non verba, right?
Yes.
So St. Ignatius Loyola. And that's what's most powerful. It's
Right.
not the words in isolation. It's not even the spirituality in isolation. Because if you do it in isolation, it really does nothing for you. It does nothing for your fellow man. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And work is a great form because we spend so much time in it.
Terrific. Well, thank you, David. I appreciate it.
Rabbi, it's always an honor.
And we'll be back to talk a little bit more.
Good.
Thank you, everybody.